Hey everyone, I'm Jay.
And I'm Sean.
And we watched a movie.
Yeah, we watched another one.
A movie I will struggle to title correctly.
Promising Young Woman.
Thank you. Too many woman movies out this year. I couldn't do it. Yep. Promising Young Woman,
That's what all of us men have been saying.
You know what? Wrong movie to say that about.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And there's no good movie to say that about, but this is definitely the wrongest. Promising Young Woman is a title you will want to remember, despite the fact that I cannot. Because you'll want to check this movie out.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most original, disturbing, captivating movies of the year.
Yep.
And I know we're only a couple weeks into it. But I feel I can say that for 2020 and 2021.
That's pretty safe, yeah.
Yeah, this is quite a movie.
Yes, it is.
So we have Carey Mulligan. She is playing a young woman named Cassandra. Let's call her Cassie. We're friends here. Cassie, I mean, she was once a promising young woman. I think you could have accurately described her as such. Her parents perhaps once did. Clancy Brown and Jennifer Coolidge play her parents, who are mystified at having their 30-year-old daughter still living at home, no ambitions to move out, no ambitions to move up in a job where she's just a barista. I mean, she's a medical school dropout and was at the top of her class when she did, and now she's just kind of waffling, not dating anybody, not going out. We don't see that she's got any friends except for this one friend, Nina, who's dead. So I'm not sure if she really counts anymore.
I would say not.
And yet, unbeknownst to most people around her, Cassie is basically living her life for Nina. In service of her, in honor of her, to avenge her death. Is this a black comedy? No. It is the blackest of comedies. It is pitch black. It is crazy black. So when Nina herself was a promising young woman, also a med student at the same college, she was gang raped one night at a party when she was too drunk to defend herself. It seems lots of boys, lots of other students took their turns, while many others stood around watching and laughing. Yeah. So Nina is no longer with us, and I'm not sure that the movie states it unequivocally, but I think it's pretty fairly understood that she kind of couldn't live with the aftermath and took her own life. So Cassandra, played by Carey Mulligan. And I cannot say Carey Mulligan enough because she is so fantastic in this. So fantastic in this. So Cassie is, her life had kind of ground to a halt when that happened, I think. She seems really stunted in there. And so she is living with this anger, very righteous, justifiable anger. I don't mean to say that this is a bad response. There is no right response. It is horrible. And she had to watch her friend go through this and not be able to help her or save her. I think possibly that night, and then also when the suicide happened. That's a lot to live with. And so she is holding on to this anger and a desire for revenge. And so she's almost gone vigilante. A Me Too vigilante, if you will, where she, one night a week, we'll say, gets dressed up, goes out to a bar, and sits around being bait. She basically pantomimes being very drunk.
Blackout drunk.
Very nearly.
Yeah.
And needs to be helped home by whatever good Samaritan man at the bar takes it upon himself to help her out.
And there's a lot of them.
And so many of them do believe themselves to be the nice guy helping her out. The nice guy protecting her from all of the bad guys. The first such man we see, played by Brody, is exactly that. The super nice guy until he gets her back to his place, and then suddenly, like all the others, wants to take advantage, even though she can't even hold her head up anymore. And that's when Vigilante Cassie perks up, because she has not been drinking. She's stone cold sober, and I think has been since that night with Nina. Oh my gosh. She is, doling out warnings, we'll say. Can we say that?
We can say that.
Giving out her warning tickets, which, good for her. She's letting men know that they're not going to get away with this anymore. Putting the fear of God into them, if you will. Whew. So we see from her notebook that she's been doing this for some time.
Yes, she has.
And there have been no lack of men.
That's a long list.
She never goes out and
That's right.
fails
She
to
always
find a man.
succeeds.
And in fact, she doesn't find the men. The men find her. She pretends to be drunk, but she does not approach any men. She doesn't have to. And I mean, if you are female, you know what I'm talking about. But she's got a bigger plan. All of these little warnings are fine. She's got something even bigger in the works, because she wants to personally seek revenge on the people she holds responsible for the events with Nina. So the kids at the party, the rapists, of course, the lawyers, the dean. I'm not sure if I'm missing anyone there, Sean, but it doesn't matter. She's got a list.
It's a long list.
She's checking it twice. It is a long list. And I don't know if she thinks she'll find peace if she can do this, or if she's straight up just doing it for her friend who can't do it for herself, or because society failed her friend, not just because the friend took her life, but because obviously the court case didn't go well, and the thing with the dean didn't go well, and the other students turned their backs on her and nobody took her seriously. And luckily, we're living in a slightly different time. Now, as you can tell by all the men who are still super willing to rape drunk women, not a super different time, but now they just think if they're caught, they'll lose their jobs. That's what they all are afraid of, their wife and their boss finding out. It used to just be a problem if the wife found out. Now, if your boss finds out, whether or not your boss is also a creep, you're gonna probably lose your job.
Probably.
Social media, folks.
Yep.
Me too. So this is so crazy. But in the meantime, she also meets this guy, Ryan, played by Burnham, who she used to go to school with. He just wanders into the coffee shop where she and her boss, I guess, played by Laverne Cox, are, sniping back and forth. She sees this guy. They have their little moment of recognition. She spits on his coffee.
She does. It's
And that doesn't...
real meet cute.
That's not a deal breaker for him. He's still interested. And so they start to date. And clearly she is not dated intentionally for her own real life since this thing with Nina. Understandably, it is very hard to trust men when you have seen that up close and personal. And then she's, obviously reinforcing that every week with all of these follow-up men. But she hasn't had a nice guy for herself in a very long time. So they are having moments of almost rom-com bliss, where they're falling in love and it's sweet and it's touching and he's meeting her parents and then she's still going out at night like Batman for rape victims. And doing her thing. And yeah, it is kind of interfering because you almost can't be both.
No, you can't be both.
So it's really kind of a clash of both worlds, but she feels so strongly about her mission that she's going through with it, especially because she's so close, because I think the main perpetrator has recently moved back to the area. He's engaged in having a bachelor party and she has plans to crash it. So there is a big cast here, an impressive cast. Aside from Bo Burnham, who I love, and who I thought, you know what, this is actually a pretty tall order to have to play like the last good man in the world. I know, Sean, you're feeling the heat of that as well. Well, I think it's a tough time to be a good guy because you feel like all men are being like spurned, which is not true. I think women know which ones are good, but there are a lot of bad ones. And I think for some reason men just looked the other way all this time and didn't realize how many crazy bad men, possibly even your best friend, like, it's shocking. But women knew it all the time, and now that we're saying it out loud, men are like, what? And so Bo Burnham has to be the only good guy in this movie, and that's tough. That is a tough act. But there's a lot of good people in this movie. You have Max Greenfield, Molly Shannon, Adam Brody, like I said, weird little role for him. Christopher Mintz-Plasse did a similar one. Alison Brie, she gets taken to task. If you always wanted to see Alison Brie be knocked down a few notches, this is the movie for you. Connie Britton as Dean Walker. And I have to say, the kind of revenge that Cassie is exacting on some of these people, the emotional toll, I think, is what she's really after. Because clearly, that's what she's carrying. That's what Nina carried. You know, physical wounds heal, but you don't forget.
Right.
And so, Alfred Molina as the lawyer who was defending the rapists and, you know, made a whole career out of it, and apparently worked at a firm where you got bonuses for it. I think that was a scene that will really burn and resonate for a lot of people watching this movie, so please do. But just, I mean, it is nice for a woman finally to be able to speak to a lawyer who has defended a creep like that. And you know you're defending a creep like that. You know you're defending a guilty party. And he made his whole career defending guilty men. And like he said, all you have to do is find one drunk picture on Instagram. And somehow, that doesn't make him innocent, but it somehow flips the tables on the victim. And that's all you need to do in the justice system these days, which is absurd. So yeah, and then Al Monroe, who is the perpetrator number one, played by Chris Lowell. We don't catch up with him until the end of the movie. Yeah, it's heavy.
It is.
It's heavy.
This is a tough movie.
It is a tough movie.
Obviously, it has to be because of the subject matter.
Yet, manages to have lots of funny, lots of charm. The tone of this movie, and I have to say, extra kudos to Emerald Fennell. She is the writer and director of this movie. It is her first movie. The tone, I think, is one of the hardest things if you're doing a black comedy to get right. I mean, tone is such a tough thing, but when you're trying to mix genres, gosh, it's a fine line, and this one gets it right.
Absolutely. It has to.
Yes, you're right.
And it does.
It obviously does, because this is a terrific movie. Good for her for finding Carey Mulligan and getting her to agree to this.
Well, you can see people knew this was a strong script, talented writer, director, because of how many people are in this for 5 minutes or less.
Yes.
These are all, other than Carey Mulligan, these are all small parts because there are so many people who are popping in and out. Yeah. And it is. You will recognize everyone in this movie.
But Carey Mulligan, of course, is the shining star. And I mean, I have to say, the difficulty level is way up there for this movie. We were just talking about, in our review for News of the World, who could be on the list of Oscar contenders for Best Actress. Carey Mulligan certainly deserves to be in the mix. This is quite a role, and I know the Oscars does not like to reward a comedy role or a horror movie role. This movie is kind of defies genres. It's hard to even pinpoint exactly what it is. She flexes a lot in this movie, I have to say. as a character, is many different people. You know, at home, she's just like the slacker daughter, antisocial. At work, she's, you know, biting and caustic and smart and clever. And then at night, she's, you know, a drunk victim and then a vigilante crime fighter. Like, she obviously has so many roles, and that's until she starts falling in love, and now she's got this fourth secret life. And she is keeping so many secrets from so many people, never really letting those lines blur, which, you know, is all kinds of difficult. I think even within the scripting of it, it's a complex character.
It is.
And, you know, we have to understand a lot because we're just thrown into this. We're not going to get really the backstory on it. It comes out in bits and pieces as she goes along. But I think she gives us that sense of immediacy, that sense of who she is right now, that pain, that, again, very little of it is explicitly stated, but there's no mistaking. Like, we know what's going on.
Of course, that's what's driven her to do all of these things, to become a vigilante. That's it's not a normal thing.
No. So we don't get the origin story, and yet we can imagine it quite fully.
Yeah.
So Emerald Fennell, she is the writer-director of this. Interesting director cameo. If you thought, who is that girl giving the blowjob lips tutorial? It is the director. And if she looked familiar to you, congratulations. Yes, that is Camilla Parker Bowles from The Crown. That is her. That's Emerald Fennell. She was also on Call the Midwife. So I didn't know her name, though, before I saw this movie. And now I will not forget it because she is clearly a talent that I need to remember and respect.
Absolutely.
To come out of the gates, this is her first feature movie that she's directing herself, wrote it too, and it's ridiculously good.
Yes, it is.
Totally unexpected, and I knew kind of going in what it was about, but the way they approach it, the way she approaches it, whew, I mean, unexpected but wonderful. And my hat's off to Carey Mulligan. The whole cast was great.
Yes,
as Sean said, there's a lot of recognizable faces, but it's not just about recognition. Even though these are small roles, there's a big punch being thrown every single scene in this movie. This is emotional stuff. This is, I mean, when you're making accusations, when you're talking about people's morals and ethics and who they were 10 years ago, who they are today, like, these things are, like, hit us in our elemental core. And so I think people are really given a chance to show off their acting muscles, even in relatively small roles. So a terrific cast, a really great script. Carey Mulligan, I cannot say enough of. This movie is available to rent at home. It is a home premiere, so it is a more expensive rental, but this is a great movie. You're going to be hearing a lot about it. Critical darling already, and I would not be surprised to hear about it come Oscar time.
Well, it deserves it. I think it'll be interesting to see how it is treated by the Academy, because it is a weird, it's a type of movie they generally don't reward, but
that's right.
I think this is deserving of some recognition for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, they'll do it for Adam McKay. They're letting him, like, straddle genres. So I think, especially for this topic of movie where, you know, the Academy is pretending to care about equality and stuff like that, this is a female director, thank goodness, taking on a kind of Me Too era sort of movie. It would be good to see this get the recognition it deserves. Don't recognize it because of the topic, recognize it because it is so fantastic and it deserves it. And if you can't recognize that, then you are showing us the kind of problem you have. That's how I feel.
That's accurate.
Sean has a theme song about my opinions lately. I mean, come on. I'm sorry.
You say it, and it's real.
And it's real. Of course it's real, in my opinion.
It's
But my
a fact.
opinion should be a fact, yes. Anyways, watch it and judge for yourself.
You gotta see it.
You gotta see it.
You have to see this movie.
Yes. It's definitely, I would call it a water cooler movie because it's one of those things that people will want to discuss.
Yeah.
But I think all the water coolers are closed down now because of COVID. So,
Virtual water coolers.
Zoom, yes,
Yeah.
whatever. And I mean, if you're an Oscar pooler, you got to know all of the wild cards in the mix. And I think this has wild card potential.
It absolutely does.
So remember Emerald Fennell, Carey Mulligan, those are the two ladies you need to remember. Promising Young Woman is the name of the film. Happy watching. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.